Good morning, all of you. Myself, Dr. Saurabh Haskar. I am an assistant professor in Mechanical Engineering Department at Institute of Engineering and Technology, Bhubaneswar, Jaipur. So, the topic of today's discussion is on real-time applications of additive manufacturing. Basically, I'm just not going into the depth of the each technique because these are the new techniques, and I hope so. Most of the speakers have already told you, but I'm just give you the brief introduction of frequently used techniques, frequently used additive manufacturing techniques, so that you can understand the basic phenomena of each techniques that are mostly commonly used in our industrial applications. Okay, and then we will discuss about some of the uh, industrial applications and also medical applications of these techniques. So these are the this is the outline. First of all, introduction, then we will discuss the process chain of additive manufacturing, then classification, materials, and then some of the applications of medical field. So in additive manufacturing, you have already in past 2 days, I think you have uh, heard about the introduction of this technique, because why additive manufacturing is now is important nowadays, because demand of customer is obviously increasing, and the old product is obsolescence in the market. So the customer needs innovative product, and also in less time. So these are the requirements for today industries, so that this technique, that is the additive manufacturing, which is time saving technique, and also it is custom made technique we can use. So basically, there are different names of this additive manufacturing techniques, which is the additive manufacturing layer-based techniques, rapid prototyping, and also rapid tooling. It is also said, and or generally we use the 3D printing or 3D modeling. Okay, so why it is additive manufacturing? So the basic difference between additive or subtractive manufacturing is that in subtractive manufacturing, we are some hurdles to do some of the intricate shapes. For example, if we look into this particular product, so there are some hurdles like the cavity is too deep to machine, or the undercut here cannot be performed without more than 3 axis machine. So actually, if you have some complicated or intricated shapes, then these shapes are difficult to generate through different types of machining. And also, if we have machine, then the cost of the machining is very high. So uh, as compared to subtractive manufacturing, the additive manufacturing is more time saving and also cost effective technique. Okay, and basic difference between additive and subtractive manufacturing is that we took the large bulk material, and then we cut that material through machining, through cutting, and we generate the product. But in additive manufacturing, as you all know, that we generate the product layer by layer. So this is the generic additive manufacturing process that we have know that first of all we have to design a CAD model, and then we have to convert into STL file. What is STL? STL is the standard tessellation language, basically standard tessellation language. So we have to generate a tessellated model. Okay, so now this STL file is in third step is transferred to machine, and then obviously you have the machine to write this STL file, and then after transfer of this STL file to machine, then machine setting, it means all the setting of the process parameters, which we can say that the setting of process parameter is done, and then building process is adopted, and then removing is done, and after removing there are certain post processing processes. For example, if we improve the quality of that particular product. So we apply some post processes, processes like finishing or grinding or curing. So okay, and in the last, the product is gone into the market for the application. So this is the generic process. Now, what is the basic structure of additive manufacturing and its subcategories? Basically, additive manufacturing or 3D printing is two common things, what we can say, but these are basically the technologies. Okay, additive manufacturing and 3D printing, these techniques we will discuss in further slides. Now, but what are the applications of these two techniques? Now, the application of these two techniques are in the rapid prototyping, so that we can visualize the product before its manufacturing in the form of prototype. And also, we can generate the direct end use product with the rapid manufacturing. But in between rapid prototyping and rapid manufacturing, there is rapid tooling. So what is rapid tooling? So rapid tooling is that we can generate the a one common tool or die that can further give the repetition of the product. Okay, so this is the basic structure of additive manufacturing and its subcategories. So additive manufacturing or rapid prototyping is cycle is just is the all you know that CAD design, STL file output, then pre-processing, okay, then file transfer, then build process, and then post processing. But this cycle is continuous until the final product is manufactured. Final product is manufactured means you have some testing option and some quality control options. And if you need some further processing, then you can again repeat this cycle until the required product is made. Okay. So this is just the rapid prototyping and rapid tooling. What is the difference between that? Now, let us see what is the basic principle of this generative manufacturing or additive manufacturing. So, obviously, we must have the CAD model, and then convert into the STL file, and then you have to do the slicing. So, what is the principle of that slicing? So, the slicing can be done in the orientation of the CAD model, and but the basic principle is that when we do the slicing, so the thickness of each layer must be equal to the corresponding layer or actual generation of the process. It means, and it obviously the plane of cutting may be different according to the orientation of the product, may be different according to the orientation of the product. So the distance between the two slicing plane must be equal to the thickness of the corresponding layer. It means the gap between the slicing plane must be equal to the required thickness of that layer. So according to this layer generation, we can generate the end product. So this is the steps involved in the rapid prototyping or additive manufacturing process. First of all, there are two categories: pre-processing steps. So in pre-processing steps, we need CAD model, then the triangulation of this CAD model, then generation of the support structure, because support structure is needed in the 3D printing or additive manufacturing or rapid prototyping process. And this support structure is taken till the end when the product is made, and after the production is done, this support structure is eliminated. Okay, and then after post processing are the cleaning, that's post curing. Post curing is the operation because most of the rapid prototyping process has been generated with the help of plastic material or polymers. So post curing is some of the process required the post curing, and then post working and finishing, and at the last we'll get the component. Okay, let us see what is the process chain for rapid prototype development. So basically, the process chain for rapid rapid prototype development or additive manufacturing is that the all the inputs is transferred into a CAD design model. So this input can be a drawing, okay, can be a simple drawing which was used in initial when we didn't have the software like CAD, CATIA, Solid or Pro. So this is the classical technology of generating the rapid prototype. But other than drawing, if we have the physical model of that final product, we can use as input in the CAD model, or we have some imagination of the designer or virtual reality, or we have some tomography the scanning technique of that model. So these are basically the method to input into the CAD. So we have the CAD data of the required model, then we use one of rapid prototyping technique, and we can generate the prototype. But after generating the prototype, there are some manual modifications. Okay, and if we have some manual modification, then again we repeat this cycle. Or if we doesn't have any manual modification, then we can inspect the prototype for the quality assurance and evaluation, and for the also for the cost analysis, and then we will go to the final manufacturing of the product. So this is the process chain of rapid prototype development or additive manufacturing development. Okay, so now let us look into the classification of rapid prototyping or additive manufacturing technique, and hope you will also uh, find these classification in last 2 days also. So some of the important techniques are based on the raw material and energy sources. For example, if we take the liquid state of material, then there are some of the techniques like photopolymers, and the mechanism is liquid photopolymerization, and energy type is light, but energy source maybe lamp, maybe laser beam or holography. So these are some of the techniques in liquid. Okay, so let us direct see this classification, because this is some elaborate classification. And on the basis of solids, we are some laminated object manufacturing, where we use the thin sheets and foils. And in the form of powder, we have used a single component or coated powder, or one component and one binder. So these are basically elaborated techniques. So if we summarize these techniques in one picture, so these are basically some of the most important additive manufacturing processes on the basis of raw materials, such as powder material. So powder materials, there are two processes: sintering and printing or joining and processes. So sintering process is selective laser sintering, and printing or joining is the 3D printing, where we use one powder and one binder. Then liquid materials, if we talk about the liquid materials, so there are two basic techniques or mechanism based on the extrusion process, that is the fused deposition molding, and second one is the liquid polymerization or stereolithographic process, which is the first 3D printing process that have generated. And this can be categorized into photo masking process, which is also known as solid ground curing, and second one is the laser process. That is known as stereolithography process. Now, on the basis of solid material, there is a sheet lamination process, which we'll discuss in this series, the laminated object manufacturing. Now, all these techniques can be further classified according to the source or according to the materials. But we will discuss some of the frequently used techniques in this part of the lecture. So one by one, we will discuss about just brief, because these techniques are basically very wide, and there are some of the process parameters, but we don't go into depth of these. We are just discuss about the basic fundamental principle of each technique. So first of all is the stereolithography. So stereolithography is basically the liquid based process that was generated by 3D system in 1996. And we can generate a solid plastic part out of a photosensitive liquid polymer by using the direct laser beam. So let us see what is the principle of this technique. So basic principle is that we have, this is also known as wet photopolymerization. So we will take a take the polymer liquid form into a vat, and uh, according to the CAD design data, this helium cadmium laser is uh, generated generated the first layer of the cross section of the required product, and then the elevator is going down. So platform is going down with the help of elevator in the Z direction, and the laser is working in the X and Y direction. Okay, so as the layer is generated, uh, the platform is goes down by one layer, and the another layer is formed according to the thickness that will required according to the CAD design model. Now this is another configuration, and in this configuration we can see that figure A. In figure A, we can see that the first layer is formed upon the platform. Okay, and the laser is working in the X and Y direction, and in Z direction the part is formed with the help of lead screw for elevator. Okay, it means platform is working in the Z direction, and the laser is working in the X and Y direction. And in second figure we can see that the whole product is made by layer and layer. Okay, and when the product is made, and with the liquid polymer, actually what is the mechanism is that when the laser is subjected to this liquid polymer, then the curing of polymer is take place. Okay, so curing means solid formation of this polymer is made in the form of hard part, hard solid part. So it depends upon different parameters that will affect the curing process of this liquid polymer. So there will be the power of laser, and according to the beam diameter of the laser. Okay, and what is the heat source. Okay, so basically what is the generation process? Actually the generation of these layers is taken in the form of voxels, which is a volume picture cell. Okay, so when this is the single voxel, so this single voxel is generated by a raster scan pattern of the laser beam, and when the connectivity, when these voxels are connected in X and Y direction, then the whole part is made. Okay, so generation of lines and layers using Vexel, and in this figure, you can see a parabolic prism cured by a laser beam. So so it also depends upon the depth of the curing. It means in which depth the laser beam can cure the liquid polymer. Okay, and also because as if the laser beam does not uh, cure the required depth of the liquid polymer of one layer, then obviously the whole solid part does not contain the uh, full density of the polymer. So there may be a porosity. So to eliminate this type of process, after the production of one product, the further curing in oven is also done, so that the curing whole curing process can be completed. Okay, so what are the parameters? Some of the parameters are laser type, uh, helium cadmium laser, then laser power, laser life, recoat material. So what is the recoat material? Recoater material, recoater material basically the when one layer is generated. Hello. So recoater material is basically when one layer is generated. So the for example, here is the sweeper. Sweeper is using the recoater. So recoat is the uh, to provide the more polymer on the previous layer. Okay, so this recoater material, and then minimum slice thickness, then beam diameter, scan speed, maximum part volume, and maximum part weight. So these are some of the process parameters. Now, what are the applications of this stereolithography process? Is to make the conceptualization model, prototype for design analysis, verify functional testing, parts for prototyping tooling, okay, rapid tooling, investment casting, and tools for fixture. So these are some of the product which was generated with the help of stereolithography. So these are also just a prototype to investigate or conceptualization of the end product. Okay. So next liquid based technique is the solid ground curing. So solid ground curing is also a liquid based technology in which we does not use a laser beam, but we use a photosensitive polymer layer, photosensitive polymer layer, and we generate a mask basically. So mask is generated with the help of electrostatically method. For example, this in solid ground steps, first of all, mask preparation is done. So in the mask preparation, the negative image basically of the cross sectional area is generated. Okay, then on the platform, we provide the liquid polymer layer, okay, of desired material. Then after generation of this mask, then ultraviolet this mask is placed in between the platform, okay, where the liquid polymer uh, uh, is drawn, and in between the UV lamp. So as the source is given in the form of ultraviolet lamp, then the area only which is the transparent according to the cross sectional area of the final product or negative image on the mask is cured onto the liquid polymer layer. Okay, and the remaining area basically the remaining area becomes in a liquid form, liquid resin. Only the area that is transparent, okay, that is exposed directly by the this photomask is cured, okay, and the remaining remains in liquid, and this remaining liquid is removed with the help of suction, and then uh, and in remaining area we fill the wax, okay, so that this wax is filled to provide the support for this and with the help of milling cutter, and this surface is basically made neat and clean, okay, and in equal level. And when the whole product is made, this wax is eliminated and the final product is uh, made. Okay, so this is the technique of solid ground curing. So actually, what is the advantage of this process? The advantage of this process is that we can uh, generate the whole layer in one exposure of the UV lamp through the mask. Okay, so we can see the whole process in this slide, where we start from the CAD model and then slicing is done. Okay, and then according to the required cross section which will provide from the CAD model, the slicing is done and the ionographic charging is done for create the negative image. Okay, so after preparing this photo mask, okay, so in figure B, you can see that the mask that only accept the area which is required, except the area that is required for the production, the rest of the area, the rest of the surface is black. Okay, so that this area remains in transparent section, so that the UV lamp is passed, UV layer is passed through this transparent section, and the negative image is formed onto the surface polymer. Okay, so after the negative image is formed onto the liquid polymer and cured, then the remaining liquid is suction out, and the wax is filled. Okay, and then with the help of milling cutter, the surface is made flat. Okay, and then after the completion of the one layer, the cycle is repeated and until the final layer is generated. So this is the solid ground curing. Okay, next process that is required for large manufacturing, large product manufacturing, is the laminated object manufacturing, or also known as sheet lamination. So obviously, sheet lamination or laminated object manufacturing is a solid based additive manufacturing process. It means in this technique, we take the solid material, okay, solid sheet material. So the material could be the plastic paper or plastic sheets or the composite sheets. Okay, so this process is the combination of both the additive and also the subtractive manufacturing. Okay, so how this take place? Let us see. So laminated object manufacturing is basically in this manufacturing, there is a platform. Okay, and we have two types of roll. In right side, you can see that this is the material supply roll, and left side is the material take up roll. So this material supply roll is for the continuous supply of the raw material or plastic paper or plastic sheet. Okay, sheet material. Now, as this sheet material, now we can also use the previously cut sheets for this type of operation. And we, if we doesn't have the previously cut sheet, then we can use the roll, take up roll. So when this take up roll is placed upon the platform, then a glue type uh, a glue type material is already stick at the back surface of this sheet. Okay, and this glue type material is activated when this laminated roller is passed upon this sheet. So when this laminated heating roller is passed upon the sheet, then this sheet, raw material sheet, is stick onto the platform, and then the CO2 laser is cut the cross section of the required product. Okay, now after cutting off this cross section of the required product, the remaining sheet upon the platform is cutted in the crosshatch pattern, like this crosshatch pattern. And we does not remove this remaining sheet at this time, because when first layer is one layer is manufactured, then rest of the sheet is collected by the take up roll, and then again this process is repeated, and next layer is formed. And this when end product is generated, then this remaining cross-hatched sheet is uh, subtracted from this part, and uh, we generate the final product. For example, if we can see in this slide, sheets of material, basically paper or ceramic or composite are there. Okay, so final product is made in a rectangular block. So on that rectangular block, in that rectangular block, we have to separated the required product and the cross-hatched pattern. We have to remove the cross-hatched pattern, and that is the scrap material. So so this laminated object manufacturing basically is required if we have to generate a large dimension product, large size product. So large size product can be very simply generated with the help of laminated object manufacturing. But again, there is limitation of materials, because we can use only paper, plastic, or ceramics, or composites. And again, according to the material, there can be the different process parameters such as laser capacity. Obviously, if we use the ceramic or composites of metallic components, then there would be again the laser power must be higher. Okay. So these are some of the features of the laminated object manufacturing. So maximum build size is 14 to 14 to 20 inches. Resolution in XY plus minus 0.004. Resolution is Z. Variable again. The platform is in the platform moves in the Z direction, because as one layer is completed, the platform downs about one layer thickness, and then new sheets is coming, and the cycle is repeated. Okay, so platform is in the Z direction. Speed is medium and cost is low. Available material is paper, plastic, or sheet. And what are the key application areas? Pattern making or large size decorative objects. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages. So the main advantage is that we can generate the larger scale models using a very inexpensive paper material. Okay, and the finishing ability of the parts and the good handling strength with the speed and accuracy is higher. But some of the disadvantages is that the most of the laminated object manufacturing is that the decubing. Decubing means you have to remove the cross-hatched sheets from the main product. So that is a typical or process, or some difficulties are there, because this cross-hatched pattern is also stick from the uh, from the first layer to the end layer. So to cut these cross-hatched sheet is very difficult. This is a main drawback of this laminated object manufacturing. This is what is the decubing of the process. Okay. So now let us move to the further process, that is the selective laser sintering. Selective laser sintering is a powder-based product. Okay, so powder-based product, and it is used for generation of the component made by polymers powder, or also we can use the metal powders. So basically, the medium, the raw material is powder. Okay, this may be thermoplastic, metal, ceramics, polyamide, nylon, glassware, nylon. Okay, so what is the basic principle? The basic principle of selective laser sintering is that this powder material is fused together, which we can also said that the sintering is done with the help of a high power laser beam. And there are basically two power supply cylinders, and one is the platform, a build piston or build cylinder, we can say that. So as the powder supply is supplied by the both of the cylinder. Okay, and then labeling roller is used for distribution of the powder on the main platform. And then according to the laser beam, uh, according to the CAD design data, this laser beam cut or fused, actually basically fuse the cross-sectional area of the required part. And once a layer is generated, the built platform is lowered down to the one thickness of the layer, and similarly, the layer by layer generation is take place, and finally, end product is made. Okay. So this is the center station 2500, which is used for the selective laser sintering. Okay, so this is the working which I have already explained, and you can also see the working in this picture. So this is the powder feed piston, in both of the right side, and in the center there is a built piston, labeling roller to distribute the powder on the platform, and this is the laser system for X-ray scanning and laser beam sintered part. Okay, in the right picture, this is the actual sinter station 2500 system process chamber. So uh, here you can also see that what is the operation. I will also show you a small video if we have some time. Okay, so this is selective laser sintering. Now next most important process is fuse deposition modeling. So fuse deposition modeling is basically the extrusion based process. So in fuse deposition modeling, obviously the raw material is in solid state in the form of filament, but when the deposition is done, deposition is happened uh, by the fusion of that solid material, and then after the deposition again the solid state take place for the production of the final product. Okay, so FDM is basically is used for the modeling, prototype, and production applications. Okay, so let us see what is the basic principle of fuse deposition modeling. So because FDM is an extrusion based process, so there is an extrusion head. So in this extrusion head, a filament, not this filament may be in the form of wire or polymer material or wax material, okay, or plastic material. So this filament is gone through the drive wheels and into the heater, or which is also known as liquefier. So in when this filament is passed through the liquefier, the heating or melting or fusion is done, and this fused material is extruded out through the nozzle. Okay, and this nozzle is moved according to the in XY direction, according to the required CAD data, which will provide as the input. Okay, so but in fuse deposition modeling, in this picture, we can understand that there are two types of filament is used. One is for the actual material, and one is for the support material. Okay, so here we can use it. There is two filaments are going into the extrusion head. Okay, so uh, part that is the actual part, and the part supports. So at the end of the process, the support structure is eliminated and the final part is made. This part support structure is needed because there can be a overhanging structures or cantilever structures. It means that required support. So these are some of the configuration. This filament is the input material, but the continuous supply must be required for the whole process. Okay, so here we can understand that this filament is uh, input in the extrusion head, and there is the working of this nozzle in X and Y direction, and this is similar to just like stereolithography, but in stereolithography, we use a laser beam, but here we use the extrusion head, and input is in the form of filament. Then deposition is done, and again solidification of material after the deposition is take place. So here we can understand this is the heated FDM head, moves in XY plane, plastic model created in a few minutes, and also table or platform is moves in Z direction, and continuous supply of the filament uh, is provided. Okay, on the filament we can use any thermoplastic or wax filament. Okay, these are the FDM machines. Uh, okay, now materials, what are the materials can be used in making FDM parts? Now, basically, the FDM is used only for generation of the polymer-based or plastic-based products, or we can say that composite-based products. Generally, most of the material that is used is the acrylonitrile butadiene styrene and polylactic acid for the generation of thermoplastics products. So these materials can be used for building or support material, because support material is also must be of the component and that is compatible to the build material and also can be dissolvable into a solution, okay, so that it can be easily eliminated after the process. Okay, these are some of the components which can be generated by the fuse deposition model. Okay, so for the metal based FDM is research is going on. There are some processes for the metal based, because why we cannot use the metal filament, because if we use the metal filament then this heating uh, heating or liquefied chamber must be contain the higher temperature range. That is not possible. That's why we cannot use the metal filament for the deposition. Okay, so now, so let us see next some of the techniques which is based on the powder metallurgy based additive manufacturing techniques. So powder metallurgy based additive manufacturing techniques. What are the powder metallurgy based additive manufacturing techniques? We will discuss the selective laser sintering. So selective laser sintering is also a powder based technique, but these techniques, powder metallurgy based additive manufacturing techniques, is specifically used only for the metal, only for the metal components. Okay, that's it. But in selective laser sintering, we can either use polymer powders or metal powders. But if we have to generate only the metal components, we can use this powder metallurgy based additive manufacturing techniques. So one of the technique is direct metal laser sintering. So this direct metal laser sintering is basically the depend upon the just same, just like the selective laser sintering. But in this technique, uh, we can use the direct the metal powder of 20 micron diameter that is free of binder or fluxing agent. Okay, and is completely melted by the scanning of a high power laser beam. So if we use the direct metal powder to generate the product, then we will have 95% dense steel part as compared to 70% density which we can acquire from the selective laser sintering. It means the efficiency of direct metal laser sintering is higher as compared to the selective laser sintering. So this direct metal laser sintering is principally, if we talk about the basic principle, is common just like the selective laser sintering. But there are two procedure or two methods which we will discuss in direct metal laser sintering. What are these two methods? Powder bed fusion. So basically, in both the method, we use the powder form of metal, and the one is the uh, in one method we just use just like the selective laser sintering. We have a powder supply piston and powder and metal or product build piston. So, in first technique, just like selective laser sintering, metal powder is supplied and recoater arm is distributed this metal powder on the piston on the product made cylinder, and laser is fused this powder or sintered this powder according to the cross sectional area, and the product is made. Now, second method is that which is shown in the above figure, here in the B figure. The B figure, in this figure, the powder is supplied in a hopper, and melting is or fusion is done in this powder hopper, initial fusion, and then this hopper is provided this powder on the platform, and then with the help of laser or electron beam gun, we can fuse this powder, and this building platform is lowered down according to the one layer thickness. So the main advantage of this technique, which is the second powder hopper technique, is that we can use more than one powder, more than one different powder in different hopper. Okay, but here we can use only a single powder. Okay, but this technique is more effective than this powder hopper technique. So this is direct metal laser sintering. Okay, so again, the process is just similar to the selective laser sintering, but we here use the direct metal laser powder. Okay, so next technique is the powder on powder metallurgy is the pro metal system using 3D printing technique. Now, pro metal system using 3D printing technique. In this technique, basically, this is a combination of material jetting or binder technique, which is used for the 3D printing technique. So, in this technique, first of all, what is 3D printing? 3D printing is a MIT licensed process in which what we use one component that is in the powder form and a one binder. Okay, this binder is basically uh, jetted in the form of inkjet. So this binder, as it is subjected to the powder. Okay, and this binder, according to the cross section of the required product, is made layer by layer formation onto the powder. Okay, so this is the process of 3D printing, in which multi-head is used for the inkjet, and the platform is lowered down, and this head is moved in X and Y direction, and final product is made. This is the process of 3D binder. Now, how we can use this 3D printing in combination with the pro metal system. So in the pro metal system, this Extrude Horn Corporation incorporates this 3D printing process into the pro metal system. So basically, in 3D printing technique, we use powder in the polymer form, okay, and one binder. But here, the powder used is in steel powder, okay, because we have to generate the metal components. So powder used is steel, okay, and the binder is used, some polymeric binder can be used. Now, as the process is made with the help of this 3D printing with the pro metal system, so the model that will be generated in this type of process, which have the build and feed piston here, build and feed piston, labeling roller, inkjet printer. The only difference between the direct metal laser sintering and pro metal system is that uh, uh, instead of laser, we use here the inkjet print head. Okay, so this inkjet print head that subjected the polymeric binder onto the steel powder will generate the final cross-sectional layer. Okay, now, after the production of this part, this solid part is not fully sintered. So, what we have to do, we have to eliminate this binder from this steel part, because here what we use, the base powder is steel. Okay, okay. On the steel powder, we subjected the polymeric binder. Now we have to eliminate this polymeric binder from the steel powder. So what we have to do, we have to perform the post processing. So post processing or post sintering process, what we can say. The whole process is take place in this type of manner, okay, in which metal powder feed tank, which is the steel powder roller, and green part. So after the binder spray head is sprayed the required binder into the steel powder, steel powder, uh, we will acquire a green part. So this is not the fully solid part. So what we have to uh, do, we have to perform a post processing. So how this post processing is take place? So first of all, we have to remove the polymeric binder. So some of the powder, if there are sticking of powder onto this green part, so first of all we have to remove this powder through the brushing or vacuum or pouring out. Then we have to perform the thermal cycle 1, which is the sintering. So in first process, we have to eliminate the polymeric binder from the steel powder. Okay. So once the powder is removed from the part surface, the part is placed in an oven. So in an oven, we can heat at a high temperature range so that the polymeric binder is burned off or eliminated and fused. And we acquired the 60% dense part of steel skeleton. Now, because the full density is not yet get acquired. So what we have to do, we have to incorporate bronze particles into the steel skeleton. So what we have to do, the part is cycled in a furnace again melted and wicked into the steel skeleton. Okay, now once the bronze material or bronze particles are wicked into the steel, then the full density of the required part is acquired. It means 60% of steel and 40% of bronze. Okay, so depending upon the application, we can also perform the final finishing, just like conventional machining or polishing or sanding techniques. Okay, so this is the direct metal laser sintering, and also uh, pro metal system. So pro metal system and direct metal laser sintering are the two most common used techniques for the generation of the metal parts. So what are the uses of pro metal system? So parts built with the pro metal system are directly intended for use in a manufacturing environment. Okay, so some of the example used for pro metal parts are injection molding tools, extrusion dies, direct metal parts, blowing molding pattern, etc. So these are basically the injection molding tools. So this is the core and cavity. We can generate injection molding tools with the help of pro metal. Okay, and extrusion dies, blow molding pattern, and direct metal connecting group. So if we compare this process with the subtracting or conventional manufacturing process or conventional machining, so we can also save the material and also save the time, and also we can save the cost. Okay, so these are the advantages of these material. Now let us see some of the hybrid techniques of additive manufacturing is the welding based additive manufacturing techniques. So now uh, these from until pro metal system, the techniques which we have discussed are the conventional additive manufacturing techniques. So if we combine these techniques with some uh, conventional subtracting or additive manufacturing like welding. So this is the hybrid techniques for additive manufacturing. So one of the technique is welding based additive manufacturing techniques. So in welding based additive manufacturing technique, one is the wire arc additive manufacturing technique. So wire arc additive manufacturing technique is just a welding technique in which what we use, we have used the feed material in the form of wire, and we use a heat source in the form of welding torch. Okay, so this technique, obviously welding is a very old technique, but if we apply this welding with the combination of additive manufacturing, so we can generate a large size product that cannot be possible with the help of conventional prototyping or rapid manufacturing techniques. Okay, now if we want to generate a large size product with the help of conventional rapid prototyping techniques, like just like stereolithography or solid ground curing, or even selective laser sintering or direct metal laser sintering. So we have the limited size of that machine. Okay, so we cannot cross that size of the machine. So but in wire arc additive manufacturing or welding based techniques, we have the freedom to extend the size of our component. So with the help of this technique, we can generate the large size parts by adding the different layer or plates of the required components. Okay, so this is similar. The basic principle is similar, which are the conventional welding processes like gas metal arc welding, or metal inert gas welding, or tungsten inert gas welding. So the material obviously and wire arc additive manufacturing techniques are particularly used for generation of the metal product, and suitable for different materials such as titanium, aluminum, nickel, steel, and also the alloys of these materials. Okay, so what is wire arc additive manufacturing? In this manufacturing technique, it deposits the material layer by layer by using electric arc as the heat source and wire as the feedstock. Okay, so because why we need wire arc additive manufacturing? Because in powder bed fusion, it is not possible to build large components, obviously. So and also here the less material wastage, as it deposits the material in layer by layer fashion to achieve the final part. Okay, and we can also there is flexibility to design or orientation of the final part, and reduction in lead time and cost as compared to the conventional machining or casting or forging process. Okay, so let us see the system architecture of this wire arc additive manufacturing technique. So obviously the components that are required in welding techniques is also required for this technique. For example, a CNC gantry table. Now, this CNC gantry table is required. That is not required in the welding, because this CNC gantry is instructed the uh, uh, wire feeder uh, and torch in X and Y direction, and argon gas cylinder, inert gas chamber, obviously to prevent the reaction with outer atmosphere. Okay, and a computer interface which converts the CAD design to G codes. So this is basically the experimental setup for the wire arc additive manufacturing, where the arc is provider uh, so arc is provided, obviously gas tungsten arc welding torch, and shielding gas. In the form of shielding gas, we use the argon gas, obviously, and wire is provided from the wire feeder. Okay, and this whole process is connected with the a PC, which will give the command, okay, in the G codes, because obviously the computerized numerical control machine read out the G code. So we have uh, we have need a software that will convert this CAD model, okay, CAD model or STL file into G codes. Okay, so then this machine CNC control can work in the X and Y direction. Okay, so this is the whole setup of the wire arc additive manufacturing process. Okay, so we will not go into the deep of process flow, and that I will explain. I am already explained you. So what are the materials for the that can be explored? Are the titanium alloys, aluminum alloys, stainless steel, nickel chromium based super alloys, copper alloys, And what are the industrial applications? Obviously, most of the aerospace and industries are used for this technique, wire arc additive manufacturing, and to manufacture of impellers and also the large turbine blades. So these techniques are the we can say that the core techniques for the manufacturing of metal components for large size applications. Okay. Now, next is also a welding based manufacturing technique that is known as friction stir additive manufacturing. So, friction stir additive manufacturing is a combination of basically the welding and also the stirring. So, in if we see about the wire arc additive manufacturing process, in wire arc additive manufacturing process, the molten weld or molten pool and heat affected zone is large. Okay, so so the this is basically what we can say that the disadvantage, because as the heat affected zone is large, then there can be the change in the properties of the weld joint. Okay, so in order to avoid this type of disadvantage, we can use the friction stir additive manufacturing, because friction stir additive manufacturing is a solid state welding process or solid state joining process. Okay, so in this first of all, we have to understand what is friction stir welding. So in compressed, basically the workpiece are compressed to move relative to each other, and joining is achieved by applying the pressure without melting. Okay, so let us direct see what is the process. So this is friction stir welding. Basically, in friction stir welding, we can use uh, a tool, okay, which have a shoulder and a inbuilt pin. Okay, so this tool is compressed, okay, against the joint, against to the material to be joined, and pressure, due to the pressure and large pressure, the frictional heat is generated, and also there is a movement from one direction to another direction of this shoulder, and also the pin that is inbuilt in the shoulder is simultaneously rotated or stirred. So when the material that is to be joined is frictionally heated, then some fusion is take place, and simultaneously stirring by the pin intermixing the two components, and a bond or a solid bond is generated with the help of this friction stir welding. Now, how this friction stir welding can be used for the friction stir additive manufacturing. Okay, so the basic principle is just similar to the friction stir welding. So the heat is from the friction is generated, and the downward force and spinning tool head creates the pressure which welds the materials together, and this material is concurrently stirred by the pin which mixes the material. And in friction stir additive manufacturing, if we have to join a stack of weld plates, okay, in the lap welding position, so we can use this friction stir welding to form an object layer by layer. For example, just like this way. Okay, so we have take one, two, three, and four layer of different thickness of these plates. So we have to join these plates, okay, with the help of friction stir additive manufacturing. So, we cannot generate all the layer in one operation. So first of all, layer by layer, pick upon first layer, we have to add the second plate, and upon second plate, we have to add the third plate, and upon third plate, we have to add the fourth plate or fourth layer. And in each generation of layer, the process is common, which is the friction stir welding. Okay, downward force is provided by the shoulder and pin is simultaneously rotating. Okay, so how this whole process is take place, just like this. Okay, so first of all, first plate is added, okay, in onto the platform. Then second layer is joining. Okay, the process is same, the friction stir welding, and in the similar way, third layer is joined, and or third plate is joined, and then fourth plate is joined. But in this process, the process parameters depends upon the type of shoulder. It means type of tool, what type of tool is taken, and what is the material of the shoulder, and what is the material of the pin. Okay, and what is the speed, rotating speed of the shoulder, and what is the linear velocity of the pin, and also the size of the pin is important, because the size of the pin is more than the one layer thickness of the plate. Basically, if this size is more than the thickness of the plate, then only this pin can intermix the both of the components or both of the plates. Okay, so this is friction stir additive manufacturing, but there is two variant of this friction stir additive manufacturing. One is in which we used the uh, uh, already have plates in layer by layer joining. Okay, that is the friction stir additive manufacturing, in which we joined the stacked of plates in a layer by layer. Okay, but the second method is use a hollow shoulder. Okay, but we supply the metal, okay, metal or powder into the this hollow shoulder. This is known as friction stir additive manufacturing. Okay, uh, sorry, this is called additive friction stir deposition method. Additive friction stir deposition method. So what is this additive friction stir deposition method? So this is the additive friction stir deposition method. In this method, we use a hollow inside the hollow shoulder or hollow hole inside the tool. So from this hollow space, we can fill the material in the form of powder or in the form of wire. Okay, and heat is obviously heat is provided by the friction, as this shoulder is rotated and pressed against the substrate material. But now the deposition is done with the help of this filler material, and obviously the product is generated by the addition of number of layers according to our requirement or according to the CAD design data. So this is the two variant of friction stir process: friction stir additive manufacturing and additive friction stir deposition. Okay, so when we talk about deposition, we have to take the hole inside the tube. Okay, and additive manufacturing, we have to take the number of stack plates, and we will join one by one. Okay, so this is the process of friction stir additive manufacturing. Now, applications of friction stir additive manufacturing is in the field of aerospace, and also in the field of where there are highly high temperature sectors such as nuclear sector, okay, and pressure vessels, and fossils and nuclear sectors. So these are the applications of basically the friction stir additive manufacturing techniques. Okay, so for example, in the aerospace, in the automobile, in the computer field, also in the robotics, in the shipbuilding. Okay, so where we have to generate the large sized components, we can use this friction stir based additive manufacturing techniques. So these are some of the most commonly used techniques or most frequently used techniques that we have discussed in this lecture. Now, uh, what is prototyping? What is the difference between prototyping, tooling, and manufacturing? So in the start of the session, I have already told you that what the basic structure of the additive manufacturing or rapid prototyping is based upon the actual techniques that we have discussed, and then the application of these techniques to generate either prototyping or tools. Okay, for example, dies, okay, injection molding tools, from where we can repeatedly generate the products. Okay, and manufacturing, or we can also use these techniques uh, for the manufacturing of end product, directly end product. Okay, so again, the tooling, the rapid tooling is of two types. One is the direct rapid tooling and indirect rapid tooling. So we will not go in the further dimensions of tooling because this is another area of this additive manufacturing, direct and indirect rapid tooling. Okay, now what are the materials of additive manufacturing? So already we have discussed in different techniques that we can use powder in the form of powder material, sheet, wire, and liquid, okay, solid. So basically, the most common material are the thermoplastics. Okay, thermoplastics for material extrusion. Okay, just like in we have discussed in fuse deposition modeling. Then thermoplastic for powder bed fusion that we have discussed in selective laser sintering. Okay, we can use the thermosets also. Okay, then metals we can use in selective laser sintering, or in direct metal laser sintering, or in pro metal sintering. Okay, and also in welding based techniques just like wire arc additive manufacturing, or in friction stir additive manufacturing. Okay, ceramics also can use in the combination of different materials or make the composites. Okay, okay, and then composites, in the form of composites we can use the polymer composites. Okay, then metal composite or metal matrix composites, and ceramic matrix composites. So these are the materials which can be used for additive manufacturing process, but the main condition is the application. Okay, so obviously the application is main fundamental backbone for use of the additive manufacturing is the application. Okay, once you decide the application, then only you can decide what kind of technique you can select for a particular. So we can say that the additive manufacturing techniques is the application based. Okay, so you have to identify the application, then you have to identify the process, and then what kind of material you can use, and also the compatibility of that material for that particular technique. So now applications of additive manufacturing techniques are in obviously there are different and various areas where we can apply the additive manufacturing techniques, like in visualization tools, in functionally graded materials, in biomedical parts, in material characterization, construction engineering, tissue engineering, automotive engineering, and aerospace engineering. Okay, so uh, so we will discuss the medical applications, which are very important nowadays for the additive manufacturing perspective. So first of all, let us see the what are the future trends in additive manufacturing. Okay, so future trends. If we see the future trends, so future trends are that there is a intermixing of all the uh, components, such as designer or manufacturer or end customer. It means if in the recent times you can just uh, made the product for the end customer according to the demand of that customer. Okay, so you can made the product in nano scale for the biofabrication, or micro scale for the electronics part, or also for the automotive system, and also for the architecture and for aerospace and defense. But for the manufacturing of these applications, you have to interact with manufacturer and end customer, so that the final advantage can be given to the also for the designer, for the manufacturer, and for the end customers, and for the makers. Okay, so there are also the future trend for design for additive manufacturing, especially for the design for the additive manufacturing. It means according to the geometry capability. It means flexibility and heterogeneous material. It means can you design the additive manufacturing for a heterogeneous material where the different properties of different materials can be combined for a single product. Okay, and whether you have the freedom of change the geometric capability of that particular process. Okay, so you can obviously in the recent times additive manufacturing can be used for the automation and robotics. Okay, where where you just give the input to the machine and all the work is done with the help of that robotics. Okay, digital spare part libraries. So what are the digital spare part libraries? So digital spare part libraries means if once you have generate a certain product with any one of the rapid prototyping or additive manufacturing techniques, so you can again repeatedly uh, can be done several times by saving that program for a particular product in your digital libraries. So you have not performed to generate the programs in every time. Okay, but you can also change or modify in that program according to your need. Okay, and also manufacturing as a service. So manufacturing as a service means if if a certain industry does not have the capability to install a certain manufacturing additive manufacturing machine or additive manufacturing technique in its house or in its industry, so you can take it as a service from a different company. Okay, so this is also a scenario that will be a useful both for the service provider and for the service gain. Okay, so manufacturing as a service. So what are the challenges in order to achieve the long-term growth in this rapid manufacturing or additive manufacturing techniques? One is the productivity or cost of the rapid prototyping machine. So obviously productivity and cost. So if because these rapid prototyping machines or additive manufacturing machines are obviously these are very costly machines, so you have to incorporate these machines where you can justify your cost, okay, or your productivity. So this is the challenge for the long-term growth of rapid manufacturing. And again, the material. Okay, now the material freedom is very important because all because certain technique can be compatible to a certain material. Okay, so in the stereolithography, obviously you can not use the metal. Okay, and similarly in fuse deposition modeling, also if there is a research is going on to use the metal filament. Okay, so this is based on the material. And then process planning. Obviously, process planning is very important because in process planning, first of all, you have to generate the CAD design, because the main information is the CAD design, and then if this CAD design is compatible to generate in the STL file, okay, and whether this STL file is compatible to your machine software. If you did not have the software for the compatible STL file, then you have to purchase your software. But all the software is inbuilt in this particular rapid prototyping machine or additive manufacturing machine. Okay. So again, rapid prototype data formats and design tools. Okay. Obviously, there are also STL is not a single format that will be used for the rapid prototyping data formats. There are some of another data formats, such as initial graphics exchange specification or standard for the exchange of product data or virtual reality modeling language. So, but STL format is more easy to do and to understand. That's why the STL format is most popular among all these data formats. Okay. Now at the end, let us see about the medical applications of additive manufacturing. So nowadays, medical applications of additive manufacturing is very again specific to the patient oriented, we can say that. So additive manufacturing has one of the most innovative and versatile application in the field of medicine and healthcare. Okay, so we can use for the training, simulation, pre-surgical planning of complex surgical procedure, and also end use metallic customized implants or prosthetic limbs. Okay, so what are the major applications in of additive manufacturing techniques are to generate the fully customized implant, patient-specific prosthesis, scaffold for bone repair and tissue engineering, dental restoration and prosthesis, orthodontics, and electronics and photonics industry to generate the equipments, medical equipments for the inspection. Okay, and also biocompatible composite materials testing and development. For example, customized implants, if we talk about the customized implants, we can generate the bone implants with the help of 3D volumetric implant or scaffold. Okay, we will discuss what is the scaffold, and then 3D plates for connection. Okay, and for different prosthetic limbs, and plates and special plates. So these are plates of titanium alloys or magnesium alloys. Okay, and these are the biocompatible materials, generation of the biocompatible materials. Please. So this is the technique of additive manufacturing for the dental restoration. So if we compare of the dental restoration in the form of conventional denture processing, it means formative manufacturing. So first of all, obviously, if you ever go to the dentist for your RCT, so you can experience this phenomena of taking the impression of fasting and then the fabrication of your prosthesis fabrication denture. Okay, so this can also done by the subtractive manufacturing with the help of a small milling machine. Okay, but this is done with the intraoral scanning. First of all, scanning of your intraoral space is done with the help of a scanner. Now, this both of the formative and subtractive manufacturing can be done instead of additive manufacturing technique. Okay, so with the help of additive manufacturing technique, this is more simple, more time saving, and more uh, cost saving. We can say that for the dentist and also for the customer. So this is the process of how we can generate a scaffold, or we can change a tissue, okay, for a defective part. So first of all, for this technique, we can also use some data acquisition technique that will, I think, tomorrow discussed. Uh, Tomorrow will be discussed in the reverse engineering process section. So basically, what we have, what we are doing in that, we will applicable the reverse engineering process. Okay, combined with the 3D printing or additive manufacturing. First of all, we collect the data. Data, it means at which place the defect is happen. Okay. Now, after the collecting of data, we have to generate the 3D CAD design of this original defect. Okay, so after the generation of this 3D CAD, 3D CAD data, the final defect anatomy is generated, and a scaffold. Scaffold basically is a matrix, is a porous matrix in which the tissue is stimulated. Okay, and when this tissue cells and tissue are generated in this porous scaffold, this scaffold is basically transferred or implanted into the defective part. And finally, obviously, this tissue is regenerated, okay, as once it is transferred into the defective part. Okay, and surgeons are also used this additive manufacturing models for the planning and also explaining the complex operation such as maxillofacial and craniofacial surgery. So how it happens? So first of all, this is simple by the using of the reverse engineering process. First of all, CT scan or MRI. So what we can say, the CT scan is the computed tomography, and MRI is the magnetic resonance imaging. Magnetic resonance imaging. So with the help of CT scan or MRI, the defective or fractured part is scanned. Okay, and just like the if we talk about this picture, so here the mirror image, we can take the mirror image of the fractured part compared to the just undefective part. So once we take the CT scan or MRI, so one of the rapid manufacturing technique can be used to generate the prototype of this defective anatomy. Okay, and then the prototype is generated, okay, with the help of additive manufacturing technique, and then this is implanted against the defective portion. Okay, but obviously, what are the material for this prototype? This could be the biocompatible. Okay, so for example, here we can see that patient CT scan and images storage in database, then processing of images and 3D model for creation, then customized surgery plan and scaffold design. Obviously, scaffold design is very important to stimulate the cells and tissues, and then there is mutual coordination between the doctor and also the engineer that will generate this additive manufactured part. Okay, and then the final implantation of this titanium scaffold is done into the patient uh, for according to the surgery. Okay, so what are the materials for medical applications of additive manufacturing are? So obviously medical applications, or we can say that this could be the biocompatible materials if we generate any component of the body uh, from the from that material. So if we talk about the resins or polymers, that could be the photocurable acrylic resins, and but for the where the prosthetic limbs or in plates, we'll talk about the plates, then it could be the metals and made of stainless steel, titanium alloys, cobalt alloys, magnesium alloys, etc. Okay, and we can also use the bioceramic materials such as alumina, zirconia, calcium phosphate based bioceramics and photoceramics, etc. Okay, and instead of that, there are different polymer ceramic composites scaffold made of polypropylene tricalcium phosphate, PCN and PCl hydroxyapatite for the FTM. So if we have to build the FTM part, we can use this material, starch-based polymer and poly carbolactone. Okay, so basically these are the biocompatible materials that can be used for the generation of the medical applications. Medical application, first of all, we have to acquire the 2D digital image generation, uh, like this type conversion of DICOM data to STL. Okay. Okay. So DICOM, what is DICOM? Is the digital and communication uh, in medicine. Okay. So this DICOM data, DICOM data, if you have data must be transferred into a STL file. Okay, then you have to analyze the STL file. Okay, because analysis of STL file is very important, because you cannot just take the direct STL file into the machine, because you have to refine this file of your need. Okay, not the whole data of STL file is required for the generation. So post processing of STL file, then generation of patient specific compatible uh, with the material, then simulation is done for the cast is generated, then the final casting and metal implants is done. Okay, so these are the process. First of all, 2D digital image generation of computer tomography or magnetic resonance imaging. Once you have the data points, then digital data transfer, data conversion, processing, and segmentation. Segmentation is important because you have to take only the defective part data. Okay, defective points. Okay, so this is the process: image acquisition by CT scan, MRI, or 3D echocardiography, then image processing, image segmentation, DICOM image files to be converted to STL file. So this can be done with the help of different softwares. Then printing is done based on the build material and required properties. One of the AM technique is used. Then post processing is done. Okay, evaluation of design. Evolution of design means customer specific design. Okay, so and obviously medical model fabrication is done, and obviously the accuracy for the surface finish or strength or appearance, and also mechanical properties could be checked. Okay, so generation of a prosthetic limb. So in left side, you can see that this is the, uh, for example, taking a negative impression of the leg, okay, of the missing leg, then creating a positive model through the casting process, then modifying this positive model manually or conventional process, and then shaping of prosthetic socket according to the dimension of the patient, and then fitting of the patient. But this whole process, if we perform with the help of additive manufacturing technique, so what are the process? First of all, you have to take the 3D scan of the patient geometry. At the end, let us, what are the conclusions of this whole process is that additive manufacturing technology are widely spread in different fields of medicine and show great potential. But still, there are some area where we can grow so that both the doctors and the patients can be benefited with the help of these techniques. So these techniques can be used for the tissue training, prosthetic and implants, tissue engineering, biomechanics, and away from the medical field, additive manufacturing techniques are also used for the automotive and for the aerospace components. So additive manufacturing development in terms of speed, versatility, cost, and other parameters are making good progress. But however, there is still huge scope for the further improvement and advancement of the additive manufacturing technique, so that it become viable and within common patients' financial reach. Because till now, the material and the techniques are very costly. So we have to uh, work on these cost-effective techniques. Okay, sir. This is all from my side.